Hello, greetings. I hope this video finds you well. I've been working hard on trying to learn technology as well as put these videos together and make it interesting. So I hope you are interested and I hope that you're able to get something out of the conversations that I am having. Please comment and let me know what you think, if you like the material and what I can do different. For today's video, I just want to introduce you, do an introduction to the video that I've put together today. It is regarding the Scramble for Africa and the impact for global Africans. It is really based upon the conversations that you see today with the current president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, as well as other African leaders who have said enough is enough and that we will manage our own resources. A part of the issue has always been this reliance upon aid. So whenever you're receiving aid from the Western world, that's going to mean that you're going to owe something to that country. So it's an exciting time for Africa, a troubling time, a growth pain kind of time for Africa, but to these it's extremely exciting to witness some of the conversations and the power structures taking place today. I'm so proud of what's happening today, and I'm elated that this is finally being revealed in such a way that it will impact not only Africans but the world. People get it now, and I understand that. So the video after this conversation, it is called The Scramble for Africa and its impact on global Africans. The scramble for Africa was a period of rapid colonization of the African continent by European powers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Driven by economic interests, political competition, and a belief in European superiority, countries like Britain, France, Germany, and Belgium partition Africa among themselves. You've heard many conversations about the Berlin Conference. Between the 1881 and 1914, Europeans held the Berlin Conference to formalize their African claims regarding African societies and cultures. This period saw widespread resistance from African communities, but the superior military technology of Europeans often led to the brutal suppression of revolts. Economic exploitation and the long lasting social impact still remains at the forefront today. Colonial powers exploited Africa's natural resources, and this is why President Traore is saying no more. We will process and refine our own resources. Kudos to him. Using forced labor and implementing harsh economic policies that benefited Europe at African expense. Africans were forced into labor and traditional economies were disrupted, leading to long term economic difficulties. Colonization had a profound impact on African societies. Traditional social structures were dismantled and European cultural norms were imposed. Education systems. This is going to be very important about education systems. Education systems in Europe were designed to serve colonial interests, and many Africans were converted to Christianity, altering their indigenous cultural practices. So here it is, the brainwashing, the breaking down of culture, social norms, and practices having the lack of ability to think for yourself. Here is the breakdown in the education system. But despite the hardships, African resistance persisted, eventually leading to independence movement across the continent in the mid 20th century. By the 1960s, most African nations had achieved independence through the legacy of colonialism continued to affect their development. When you think about the 1960s and what was happening in the United States with the civil rights movements, that was the precursor to African independence. If it had not been for the march, the burnings, the lynches, the boycotts, the Rosa Parks of the day saying enough is enough, African liberation would not have taken place. So, as you can see, history is not just one sided, but it's a collective story. Although something was happening in America in the 60s, it had an impact on what was happening in Africa, and the liberation or the independence from the continent and many African countries began to revolve. So moving forward, you see the same thing with police brutalities in America and the impact that it has had on the continent. And now Africans are starting to see some of the disparities that the indigenous people in America and in Europe, systemic structural racism. So these are the problems. The Scramble for Africa had a significant impact on global Africa diasporans. Migration, both voluntarily and forced, spread African cultures worldwide. Descendants have contributed to global culture, enriching societies with our traditions, art, and resilience. Now, you'll find this wherever you go. You'll find that people are inundated and they are in love or impressed by African culture, community, and food. And it used to be against the law for a person of African descent to engage in relationships with a person of European descent. And you'll find, particularly in law, that people could be killed for it. As a matter of fact, it is still illegal in some states in the United States to intermarry. You'll find that it's everywhere. It's not just a localized text, but it was actually written into law to keep systemic and structural racism in place. And it was designed to keep Europeans in power. So today, the global African community continues to navigate the legacies of colonialism while celebrating our rich heritage and striving for a more equitable future. So, the legacy for the Scramble of Africa is very complex. It's marked by both struggle and resilience. As Africa looks to the future, it continues to shape its destiny and influence the world. The journey of both on the continent and globally is a testament to our enduring strength and vibrant spirit. So we've talked a little bit about the scramble for Africa, and there's always been a scramble, but now there's a new movement by African leaders who have said enough is enough. We want control of our resources. We want to be create the table for Africans and not beg for a seat at the table when it comes to our own resources. I think this is very strategic. I believe that it is past due and that it is time for leaders to look introspective to figure out what is needed to move the needle forward for Africa and for that country. Now, Africa is a huge continent chopped up by this partition we talked about in smaller networks to create a disconnect on how Africa shares its resources and how it shares conversations. And you have many dialects, many cultures, many languages. There are many barriers, but the one common barrier is going to be a united front of restoring the kingdom and moving forward. So please, if you want to learn more, I've taken some time. Again, I'm learning technology, putting these videos together for you. So I hope that you would keep watching this video. There's going to be a segment added at the end that I put together for you to view. And I'm so hoping that we can have a conversation, that you'll add some comments, you'll give me some feedback and let me know what you think, how you feel, and if this information is going to be useful. So the whole idea is to have this conversation, but we're building a foundation, starting with history and bringing it forward to connect it with us today. So watch to learn about the old and the new scramble of the motherland. I'll see you soon. Hello, viewers and fellow Africa enthusiasts. Today, we're diving into the captivating history of the Scramble for Africa, a pivotal moment that profoundly shaped our modern world. We'll begin with the mesmerizing scenes of Africa. From vast deserts to majestic mountains, Africa's natural beauty is truly awe-inspiring. Then we have the African people, whose diverse cultures, cuisine, traditions, and beliefs makes this continent incredibly unique. Next, we'll explore the map. The Scramble for Africa was a period of rapid colonization that began in 1884, led by various European powers. This map illustrates this dynamic event and how it changed the course of history. We'll also highlight ancient kingdoms that once flourished across the continent. The grandeur of ancient Egypt, the Aksum Empire, and others showcase Africa's rich and diverse history. Moving on to resources like gold, diamonds, and ivory, these treasures were highly coveted by European powers during the Scramble for Africa. Their extraction brought immense wealth to the colonizers, but had profound consequences for local economies and societies, which continues this very day. Next up is government and corruption. Many African countries still bear the legacy of colonialism in their governance systems and policies. Corruption remains a significant issue in nations where colonial empires once held sway. Finally, we'll touch on the diaspora migration from Africa to global lands during colonial times and the current challenges such as economic disparities between rich and poor nations. There you'll have it. A brief history of the Scramble for Africa and its impact on global Africans. I hope this video has been both informative and enlightening. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more engaging historical content like the saga of humanity through the Akbulan playlist. Thanks for watching.